And we're live. Archie, what's up, man?
You got some
We
new
got
lights, huh?
we do, yeah. Got some new lights. Don't know how to act. Trying to test my mic here, see if this mic adjustment helps at all.
You know,
Got a lot to got a lot to cover for sure.
dude, there's so much to the lighting game, and ever since we've been doing this show, I've been watching so many videos on lighting, and man, there's lights out there that are like $3,000, $2,000, and the more I dig deeper into this, it's like you start like thinking like, dude, where do we start for this?
Oh yeah.
It's-
You know what's funny is as I was prepping for this recording, one of the things I wanted to chat through was, what are some of the big key learnings from 2023 and just getting this thing off the ground? And you just said it right now is one of the biggest lessons is just where do we get started? And I think part of
yeah,
it's just get started,
yeah.
start chipping away, see what happens. But yeah, this lighting game is pretty comical, right? Between the lighting game, the video game, I mean, all those kind of details to the project has been super fun. That's big 2024 focus of mine.
Oh
Content
yeah.
quality.
For sure, man. There's definitely all those different levels, and when you refer to video game, like, oh, I get it, video game, the video.
Not video game,
uh,
not video games, like the
oh
content, video
yeah,
content, man.
but like going back to the light, like man, I think it first started with Rob.
Oh yeah,
Dude, that's where it started. I'm like, dude, we gotta get these lights. When he let us borrow those lights for the recording,
oh yeah,
such a big difference.
yeah. You
And
know where it was very obvious too is when we did the TK episode at my house,
oh yeah,
and when you turned it off at the end of the episode, I'm like, dang, that was a big miss, dude. This whole time.
yeah, that would have been a lot of trouble if we didn't have that light.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
so with your situation with the LED lights, so with the box lights that we've been using, they have this little cover that goes in front of it that kind of filters the light. So
Hmm.
does your light did it come with that or anything to put something over it?
Nothing.
So
It has some like some dimming dimensions
okay,
that like I'm not even 100% sure how to use it. Just use it, turn them on, figure it out.
okay.
We'll build as we go.
So some videos I've been watching, they have like these panels on each corner so you can really focus on where you want the lighting at.
Okay.
Does it have those panels around it too?
No,
Okay.
super entry level.
So some people like put that on there. Like professionals will start, they'll start adding those little accessories to it. But I think a good way to start is I see it on a video. They bought another tripod and then they bought this little filter thing that filters out the light,
Hmm.
which makes a huge difference. It's basically putting like one of those, those in your car when you have to block the sun from coming in, those little
Okay.
windshield.
Yeah.
But you got these little things. There's so many different, I guess, uh, light levels you can put in front of the. I know it's so weird, isn't it? Like
Dude,
that's how
this is gonna be comedy.
professionals.
We're gonna listen to this episode a year from now and realize that how much of an amateur hour we're running at this point
Oh
in
yeah,
the game.
for real, man.
So
That's
funny.
why you ever go like on photo shoots and you see like this like third person. You got the photographer, the subject, and then like a third person with like all these different panels.
Oh yeah.
That's basically what you're trying to do with your lighting.
Dude, it's so funny. Yeah, I was looking at this. I gotta look up what the name of that website is, but there is all kinds of attachments that you can attach to your desk for lighting and camera angles and to set up multiple cameras. And they have this
Hmm.
one specifically for podcasting that does the mic setup as well. I'm like, man, I gotta step my game up. I'm gonna keep building.
Oh
I'm like,
yeah.
man, this thing's turning into like a transformer.
Yeah.
So funny. Yeah, it's all good though. It's all good. In
Um
the spirit of what we're trying to accomplish, it aligns with building
oh yeah.
entertaining content.
Yeah, ever since, going back to what you said about the video aspect, man, ever since I've been trying to use that camera like more often, more than I like. I guess I get a little uncomfortable when I start bringing it out, like, because when people are around, they're like, dude, what's that? Like, why do you have your camera out? Like,
For sure.
well, I'm learning how to use this thing because this thing is definitely a beast to handle because there's so much technical aspects to it. And like you said, if I don't use it, dude, I'm not gonna learn. I'm not gonna use it, right? It's like I won't learn how to use it as well. So,
Yeah, for sure.
ever since we've been using it, content's been much better.
Yeah, I'm excited to pick mine up. I'm gonna get mine this weekend and just start.
Yeah.
Just start. Yeah, I think it's just like anything else, man. It's like doing jujitsu. You just gotta show up
Oh
and
yeah.
just start.
Oh yeah. Man, the are we transitioning to jujitsu right now?
Sure.
Oh, let's
We
talk
can talk
about
about
that,
jujitsu. We can talk
man.
about whatever we want.
Because this year has been such a difference when I started doing more nogi classes.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna ask you. I was gonna ask you about that. How is
That
that? Do you see that translating?
Yeah, like as far as into business and
No,
or just
just translating into your gi game as well.
oh yeah, I mean, dude, there's so many ways I'm looking at it because I would avoid the leg locks or you know there's things that I would be. There's a reason why I wasn't going to no gi because I was really comfortable doing the gi game. Like, oh, I like to take it nice and slow, but also, um, I was talking to Genesis about this. Is like, are my reactions just too slow with gi? He's like, dude, you can have the same reactions as gi. You just need to know what you're doing with no gi. It's the same thing. I'm like, he just told me this the other day. I'm like, he's like, you're gonna be moving around, and he gave me this. He said you're gonna be scrambling, and the moment when I heard scrambling, and he uses that word a lot when he's teaching technique, I
Right.
think of fast. Like when you're scrambling, it's fast. Like you gotta, I gotta scramble and get the position faster than he does, or the other our partner does. But he's saying it's not about that. It's about like if I put my hand here, you need to know what he's gonna react to and how you're gonna react to that. What are you gonna do after that? And how it's gonna keep on building after each movement you put your hand or wherever you put your foot. You need to know what they're gonna do. That's the scramble. It's not how fast you can get there. It's just knowing that's how he thinks of a scramble is.
Yeah.
So man, I was like, dude, that's such a big difference. So when I rolled with him, he started rolling really slow, and he was just freaking crushing me. I was like, dude, this is how I roll with Gi.
Yeah.
He's like, he was just
Very deliberate.
demonstrating. Yeah, yeah. And then he was just really demonstrating that. It's like, see, you don't need to be fast. I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, it's super fascinating. I haven't done as much no gi as I'd like to, um, but my gi game, man, I feel my gi game's been evolving so much, man. I mean, even just the last back half of this year has evolved so much, and
Mm-hmm.
I think part of it too is because I've been, um, doing some cross training, and
Mm-hmm.
it's super helpful to get a different look. Plus, it's also very helpful to be able to test some of the things that we're doing with TK in another environment, and then take
Mm-hmm.
some of the things that I'm learning at Combat Base and bring it over. So again, I think my results are multiplying because of that. But it's interesting that you're talking about like being deliberate and just hand placement and grip and you know putting all those things together. Yeah, it's a big difference. Big difference when you can explore and try different things. Put yourself in situations where you could try different things and feel confident about yeah, I'm just gonna try. I'm gonna see what
Yeah.
happens here. But yeah, man, so much fun, dude.
Yeah, man, and just playing more with the, with the legs and the foot game. I keep on thinking about that Danaher quote. Wagner, 50% of the human body.
Right, seriously.
Man, it's just that's why I had to put that on that Instagram post the other day with the wrestler
Oh,
jumping
dude,
off the
so
top rope.
dude, that's so epic. Talk about learning experiences, man. You know, when um, we started doing those remixes,
Yeah.
and the last two that you did were freaking good, man. Both of them got like whatever 100 plus shares,
Oh yeah.
5,000 views, or whatever the case is. Pretty epic. And it's so funny too because there's a certain amount of just like I think when we're doing this, we could take ourselves too seriously. And
Yeah.
then when you put out some just general comedy or just general pop culture type things, how receptive uh, the community and our audience is pretty cool.
Oh yeah, man. I mean,
You don't
the
expect it for sure.
no, but definitely those are the moments I like. Those thoughts that are on those memes are definitely the ones that cross my mind for sure. It's like the leg locks, like ignore 50% of the human body, and I was like really serious that day because I don't know, I was having a bad no gi day, and then I was just scrolling through Instagram. I saw that video. I'm like, oh, that looked like it hurt,
Yeah.
and then it just put that all together with my day, and then that one with I think we were talking about class about everyone's like 50% is different.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
It's like
exactly.
it's like coach tells you to go 50% and you're like looks like 150% to the other people.
Yeah, it's so funny. The was that Mike Velez that we were talking about that with when he was talking about striking?
Was
I think it was in Mike's episode when he was talking about when he learned or when he started taking up striking, and he'd go to other schools and they would say, "Hey, we're just going to go
yeah,
50%." It's like, man, super
right.
subjective. It's like fifty
Yeah.
percent of who? 50% of what? Right? That's so funny.
For real. Um but yeah, those posts honestly I think they were getting a lot more shares than some of our original content. So
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
it's
dude.
hilarious.
No, I think it's great, man. I think it's great. Well, also too, like, the goal of this is, there's just a degree of authenticity, right? One of the things that is important to me and just important to us. I mean, we've talked about it continually. It's just the level of authenticity.
Hmm.
And, part of just being authentic is, yeah, there's a freaking humor side to this whole thing. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Just, it's okay to laugh. It's okay to laugh at ourselves. It's okay to laugh at just stuff. So, hell yeah.
Yeah. Hell yeah,
Yeah,
man.
pretty good. What else, man? So we got 2023. So we started August. I guess we initially started talking about this in July, and then August we come off the ground. Now we're whatever 20 episodes in or something like that. You think of 5 months. What are some of the things that you take away, or you've taken away, I should say?
Man, mm, I think I thought about this um last week is man, I feel like I don't have enough things to do, which sounds crazy, right? Because if I feel like ever since I've been doing this, it's been boom, go, 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 like everything. Um, Maybe it's because the people we've been interviewing with. But I was like the other day, I was just like, do I have anything to do? I feel like I accomplished everything. I'm like, no, I gotta find something. There's got to be something to do. And I'm like, thought about this. I'm like, I've never like this. Like, usually I just want to relax and do nothing. Like, you just want to
Yeah.
watch TV. But dude, that's been I don't know if it's just this transition into the business side. Like, oh, I need to get mentally ready, but that's like I've never thought I would think this way. Like, dude, I gotta find something. I gotta. There's got to be something out there. What goals do I have? What?
I mean, there's a lot, man. What's
That
super
was a big
fascinating.
takeaway. Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I'll tell you. I think with that, or just to kind of build on that, is sometimes people underestimate what they could get done.
Hmm.
Right? I mean, just think about you, right? You got your career, you're getting ready to launch a business. We've been doing podcasts, you've been creating content, you got your kids, training jiu-jitsu. You started doing, you didn't change up your gi schedule, but you started adding some additional time
Yeah.
with, no gi, and on top of that, you still have time to go do things for the family, right? You traveled, you
Yeah.
went to Black Diamond Club. I mean, again,
Yeah.
it's pretty surprising when you take a look back and just how much you could get done in a little bit of time.
Right. Right. And definitely, ever since jumping on board with you and doing this, there's been a lot of intentions of when I was going to those Black Diamond Club events. It's like I'm just gonna go and try to get the feel goods out of it.
Yeah.
That's what I like going for. But now it's like, dude, just start like getting more deeper, more intention behind it, and have some more meaning. Like before, I would when I went to the first one, it's like or the second one, I just went. The third one I went to, dude, I was like, I had some goals. I'm gonna meet this many people, make some connections, ask questions to these specific people, like really, hit some goals and some deep intentions to these events. But yeah, those are some of the one of the big things.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things that I always try to do, whether it's at work, I mean, I've been this way with jiu-jitsu too, the past probably year and a half, 2 years of just being very, very intentional about what I'm trying to get done I mean,
Hmm.
all the way down to the class,
Yeah.
right? Like right now, I've been working, I mean, probably this past year and a half, I've been working on just very specific paths, right? With the intention of, okay, hey, how do I get to the back from here? How do I get to the back from here? And hey,
Yeah.
you know, is there a certain pattern or path that I could take to get to the back, right? So I've been kind of in this back chasing, I guess, kind of adventure.
Hmm.
And literally, it's been class, try to look up a video, reflect. Man, that didn't work. This worked. Oh man, I should try that again. Does it work against somebody that's a higher belt? Does it work someone that's smaller than me? Does it work against someone that's bigger than me? Does it work on how do I get to it on my weaker side instead of always going to the left? Like how do I get there if I go on to the right? And just being very intentional
Hmm.
is very helpful, right? Also, too, I mean, and I think part of that it carries over to my work and business life, right? It's just being able to be very intentional of like, hey, we got limited amounts of time, so let's make sure that the time that we are putting towards something is very intentional,
Hmm.
right? So yeah, it's super cool, and also too, I think what I've learned about doing things or approaching things that way is it gives you the chance to be able to say no to things,
Mm.
right? And a lot of times it's easier or we have this kind of natural tendency. I shouldn't say we. I have a natural tendency to be like a people pleaser. So like I would want to say yes and try to help people out and yes, I got you. Don't worry about it type thing. But also too, when you have very clear intentions of what you're trying to accomplish, it's a lot easier to be able to prioritize and be able to know like, no, I'm not going to do that because that's not going to help me get to this. Right.
Oh
And
yeah.
the goal and intention is to be able to get to here. And I'm trying to get these 4 or 5 things done specifically with this end goal. And anything outside of that is just a distraction,
Hmm.
right? And yeah, I think the clearer and clearer that is, and the more intention you have, and the more fine tune you can get with that, right? Your time becomes just that much more valuable, that much more productive.
Oh yeah. Man, that's such a man. I like how you mentioned that. Like when you have those intentions, and it's a lot easier to say no to things because um me starting out with doing this and trying to get better at everything, I was trying to please everyone.
Yep.
trying to network with other small businesses, through my work at the chiropractic offices and trying to network with other people. It's like, oh yeah, like these people, I got to do everything I can so we can stay connected and have a good, rapport with them. But once I start having more those intentions and meeting people and what do I want exactly when I'm meeting these people, right? There's people like, nah, you know what? I think maybe we should not do business, but let's just stay connected. Like we can do things, and if we if your services come to mind, we'll definitely keep in touch. But
Yep.
that's just very surface level. There's some other small businesses that we're working on a deeper level. So definitely that I love how you point that out, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Especially when it comes to something like that, right? When it comes to networking,
Mm-hmm.
there's I use this analogy of farming and hunting,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I don't know what it's like to be a farmer, right? But however, right, the theory of farming is, you're gonna prepare the seed and the soil, and you're gonna throw out some seed, and you got to water it and make sure temperature and shade and water and nutrients and all these different things in order for that to build over time. So, months from now, you can build a harvest.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other part of it is, um, from a hunting standpoint, being able to say, hey, I'm the predator, there's a prey, I'm going to set this trap so I could capture this prey, right, as a predator.
Right.
Um, and a lot of times networking is in the exact same sense, right? Is, hey, some things are just going to take some time, and I may need to introduce myself to somebody, and it may take 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months, 10 years, right, to be able to have this relationship come into fruition. And then other times it's going to be very transactional, right? They're in need of a service. I'm ready to provide a service. They
Mm-hmm.
have a price point. I'm going to deliver a price point. We're going to create a transaction. I deliver the service, and we go from there, right? And that's you know, that's kind of the essence of farming and hunting, and you got to be able to be committed to doing both, right?
Okay.
Sometimes
Yeah.
it just gets confusing, right? Because things take time, right?
Yeah.
And consistency, right? And if you could be very consistent over time, you'll see the results consistently.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's just always about going in real strong, I'm trying to force somebody to do something they really don't want or don't have the time or don't see the value in doing. Um, now I'm just being a pest, right? Or
Yeah.
or I'm
Mm-hmm.
wasting my time, right?
Right. Right.
So yeah, I mean it's especially when it comes to networking, right? I use this in a previous episode of uh, when it comes to building a team, and networking is
Mm-hmm.
just like building a team. You got to find you know the first one, and the
Yeah.
first one may not be the most ideal, perfect one, but it's your
Mm-hmm.
first one, and they're moving forward with you in that direction. And even if it's 60, 70% of what you're hoping to accomplish, but you're moving forward, at least you're moving forward with somebody else, right?
Yeah.
And hopefully you can grow and build that relationship over time while you look for the next one, right? And be able to continue to build, right? So when you're building width, right? Meaning
Mm-hmm.
the amount of people that are running with you, and then
Yeah.
depth, right? How deep is that relationship, and how strong is that partnership, right? And you got to be committed to doing both, right? You build with, right, the volume of people, then depth is the strength of the relationship and how long that relationship lasts, and being able to do both, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a tricky game, right? Because you got to be able to balance both.
Oh yeah. Man, it's some valuable lessons right there. Literally turning that into a little seminar.
Width and depth, or farming and hunting.
Oh, dude, that's I
Oh,
love
so
that.
funny. For sure. Well, what's interesting about that is it's very similar, in the world of jiu-jitsu, right? When you think of just um
Technique.
yeah, technique, right? Hey, um there's a Poilak was talking about this, right? The generalist and specialist, right? Is from a grappling standpoint, hey, we're going to be grappling from the feet, and we're going to be grappling from the feet, starting on the feet, and I'm going, gi, no gi, upper body, lower body, right? Throw, some throw variation in judo, or some takedown variation, right? Upper body in a Greco, or more of a freestyle, right? Doing a leg type of, or folk style, where I'm chasing after somebody's, legs in a double leg type takedown. And then, hey, I'm on the ground, and now I'm on the ground. There's, various things I need to understand from the top and the bottom, and side control, and all those kind of different pieces of the puzzle. But while you're building that width of knowledge, you got to be able to build depth, right? And you got to be able to understand, okay, hey, here's kind of the two or three things that I do in each position that I'm really going to be super proficient at, and I'm going to try to tie all these things together. But yeah, man, it's super fun.
Man, Playlock's episode, that was so much fun being
It
at that
was.
his facility.
Yeah, we,
It
we gotta
it
we gotta we gotta run that one back.
oh yeah. There's people I still want to go back and other people I still want to go back and
Oh
talk
yeah,
to as well, man.
hundred
Like
percent.
Damien
Oh yeah,
Tannenbaum.
yeah.
Man, we gotta pick his brain a little bit more for sure. But
Agreed.
going back to Playlock, honestly, I've never talked to him in that level ever in my life. It's always just like I meet him in passing,
Hmm.
or we're just like, I took his class, but there was not a lot of communication there either. He's like just telling me what
Yeah, he's just
to
coaching you.
do for exercise coaching, right? It's like so it's like I have never heard Poylock talk this much.
Fascinating guy, right?
He is, man. I'm like, dude, I need to like hang out with you more often because he's got some, valuable things he's learned throughout his career, and love to pick his brain about it, man.
Yeah,
So,
he's a pretty brilliant guy. You know what's really interesting too about that conversation, about how we were talking about threads, and he was
yeah,
talking about how he realized that that was just his way of communicating, and that he could
yeah,
communicate better in written word and text versus, being able to just, speak.
mm-hmm,
And yeah, I think just being able to be aware of that, right? And being able to understand where your strengths are and doubling down on your strengths, because that's a game changer.
oh yeah, dude. Um, we didn't. I guess that part of the episode didn't get released,
Oh,
but
we didn't release that part. Was that the back end
well,
of the
no,
episode?
no, no. That was in there, but this part that I'm about to mention
Oh,
was not
okay.
released, or we didn't get like back to it. But how you didn't hire him back,
Yes.
or you said no
Oh yeah, didn't hire him.
over at UFC gym? Yeah,
Yeah. So I'll tell you kind of I remember this clearly. So Robbie, that is a guy who he was referring to, right? So Robbie, good friend of both of ours. He worked for us or he worked for me at the UFC gym, and he was, you know, great athlete. Everybody loved Robbie, and awesome coach. And at the time, we were really, really building. And he tells me, "Hey, man, I got this guy. I want to bring him on board. Could you guys interview him?" So we used to have this interview process that we would go through, and part of the interview process is a practical interview, right? So they got to come in, they do a session, and when we do the session, there's two people observing. There's someone observing from the outside to see what it looks like, and then there's someone that's doing the actual, going through the actual coaching. And at the time, I mean, we had just had, I mean, this massively strong team. So we weren't just looking for anybody on the team, right? It's always, how do we find more and better people, right? And he just didn't have the experience, uh, that we had in compared to all the people that were incoming at the time and being part of the team. And his practical interview got mixed reviews, right? And I had this rule, and this rule I had learned early on is, when in doubt, don't hire. So the mixed reviews was one of those, like, hey, he has right education, but he doesn't have the experience training one-on-one clients, the experience that he's going to need to sell personal training. So he didn't have that experience. And then the training, from a training perspective, um, the actual session, and I remember who did it. It was a guy named Dean, who actually Dean is training Edgar, right? But Dean did the assessment of the practical interview, and he loved it. But optically, from an outsider's perspective, it did not look like a good session. And anyways, I was like, man, okay, hey, we're batting 50%. I like the fact that he's Robbie's referral. I like the fact that Dean was co-signing for him, but he didn't have the experience, and optically didn't look like a good session. So hey, we're gonna pass. And I didn't think nothing of it, right? It was just one of those things where like, hey, we're gonna pass. And I remember going to lunch the following day, and I come back and there was a note on my desk from the front desk and a letter on my desk. I'm like, what the heck is this? And anyways, on there was, like a call from Poylock and a note from Poylock. And I was like, okay, I like the fact that he's not going away. And anyways, we ended up working through that. And it's like, all right, hey, I'm going to give the dude a chance. And I want to be real clear on what it's going to take to be here. And if he can't deliver that, then we just need to understand that this may or may not work out for both of us. But fine, he wants to be persistent. We'll give him a chance. And anyways, gave him a chance. It worked out. And, the value of just persistence and the value of just believing, right? I mean, in his mind, I already hired him, and he was just going through the motions, and that was part of the exercise, right? Which was, I was going to say no, and he was going to come back, and yeah, I mean, there's a lot of value in just persistence.
Yeah. Man, that's definitely on like my goals, or my goals since doing this is just being persistent in everything.
Oh yeah,
Man. Um, but that's such a crazy story, dude. Can you imagine where like, or if well, like if you're listening to this, can you imagine where you would be,
yeah,
or where any of this would be? I feel like he made a huge impact on the community for sure.
yeah.
Of where he's
Well,
at right now.
well, also too. I mean, you think about, he has his own business. He is a professor. Um, he mentors. A lot of people work under him from a
Hmm.
intern type perspective, and those are people that are moving on and impacting lives. And again, it's just one of those things that yeah, who knows what would have happened.
Right. Yeah.
Who
I mean, like,
knows?
not just him, like you guys, like, dude, everyone, you guys, dude, your whole team there, man, it
Yeah, we had a
definitely
bunch.
felt different at that gym, man.
Yeah.
I'm glad, like, I went there. Dude, I was going to Bally Total Fitness on the other side.
That's
That's what
funny,
I was
man.
like, dude, I need something different, man.
Yeah, during that era, man, it was a pretty unique time. It was the UFC gym was a new concept. We
Hmm.
had some uh, very high standards, and I mean, there was we had some pretty unique processes too, just the way we built people up, and yeah, it was a fun time, man. And there's a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
great leaders that came from there, and just a lot of people that are now off doing their own things from things that they learned during that era. Which, for me, that's where the value is, man. It's being able to have an
Hmm.
impact, and and not just on the Nick Angelonis and the Poylocks and TK and kind of that crew. But I mean, there's other folks, right? Jeff Nolasco, right? Who's kind of part of that group as well. Um, it's those guys are the leaders of it, but for me, it's all of the people that those people impact. I mean,
Yeah.
think about like we'll use TK and Jeff, right? And we see their work on social media, but I mean, just think of like the kids that they're impacting
Hmm.
and where those kids' lives could end up 5 years from now, 10 years from now, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
Again, it has nothing to do with um, anything that gym or me or anything. It was just literally the kind of culmination of everybody's efforts, and then
Hmm.
building confidence in systems to be able to go out and create something on their own, and them to be able to continue to have this impact and give away and coach and train and mentor all of these kids. I mean, think about it. I mean, even, Nick Angeloni, and, they're building this kids program, and, let alone all the other stuff. I mean, you and I know the benefits that come from jujitsu, right? I'm not even talking about
Hmm.
anything else, right? The health
Right.
benefits, right? I mean, we were talking about Poylock, and, I mean, he's had impact on people, athletes, and impact on um, people's own weight loss journeys, and just all the people that they've impacted. I mean, it's mind blowing, dude. Mind
Oh
blowing the
yeah,
scale
man.
of things that come
Yes.
from that.
Yes. And it doesn't happen right away, right? Like, that's one thing also that I've taken away from 2023 is like it takes time, you know,
Yeah.
to build that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it's this, the society of like, oh, instant gratification type things and stuff like that, but um definitely I'm looking at everything like, okay, like am I putting much time to really say that I got the best out of it? Am I, things like that. So,
Yeah, that consistency over time. One of the things I wanted to talk about, and again, I don't want to be all over the place, but kind of just tying into some of these episodes. I mean, you think of like Matt at Epic Roll,
oh
or you
yeah.
think of Daniel Savage at Combat Corner.
Hmm.
Um, Combat Corner itself as a standalone company has been there, whatever, 16 years, 17 years. You think of Matt from Epic Roll, and, his water bottle company. And to think that, man, that was an idea that he had 20 years ago, right? That is barely coming to fruition today. And, you think about, um, some of the common threads, right, that have come through. And, as we're talking, one of the notes that I had is, as we've asked people, right, I think it's pretty evident that a lot of these leaders are readers, right? A lot of these folks are, uh, personal development and professional development and just coaching and training. Like, that's a very important piece to a lot of these people. But how often the book Think and Grow Rich came up, and Think
Oh
and Grow Rich came
yes.
up on Matt's episode, Dr. Rob's episode, Mike Velez's episode. Um,
Hmm.
and I mean, even that book alone, right? I mean, that book alone was like a summary of, all of the wealthiest people of that era. And just the study itself took 20 years. It's crazy, man. And, to kind of go to your point of just, hey, some things take time, right? And just working towards, the steps of ultimately what you're trying to accomplish, right? Whether it's, 2 years from now or 20 years from now, just, man, it
Hmm.
just compounds over time, and you got to be consistent, and it's going to take a lot of learning. I mean, we started this episode talking about some stupid lights that we're trying to figure out how to work correctly, right? And the science behind it. I mean, a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, I mean, we'll have it down to a science. But even at that point, we'll still be evolving and figuring out there's more and more nuance, and how do we make it better, and how do we refine it. And yeah, it's a fascinating process, man. Just like
Oh
jujitsu,
yeah. Right. Right.
just like
And
jujitsu, man.
it's not even about being patient for me anymore. It's just being consistent.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
That's what
dude.
it is.
Dude, that's the whole name of the game, dude.
Hmm.
Whole name of the game is
And
just
I
consistent.
think, oh yeah, and I think it goes back when had that one day. Like, no, I gotta do something. There's something I gotta be doing. It's like
Yeah.
I can't believe I was going through that on my mind the other day. So it's crazy.
well, well, also too, man. I think it's you, you know, I think it's a scenario where you just got to keep building, right?
Hmm.
And
Yep.
that little bit of time every single day applied over an extended period of time and just reflecting on that and getting better from that, those are going to be things that turn into something special, right? Turn into something great. But you got to
Hmm.
start, you got to be consistent.
Right.
And,
Right. Yeah.
just like the seed, right? I can't just put a seed into the soil, put some water on it, expect
Hmm.
it to grow. It's like, man, it's going to take time.
Oh yeah. And like talking about like taking leaps, Diana Wang and starting open mat physio.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's you know,
Yeah, dude.
another
You know
reason
what's
why I'm
fascinating?
making.
Oh, so sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's just another reason why some of the decisions I make is like, you know, yes, you got to analyze it, but it's like you don't want to analyze too much. You just got to do it, right? It's
Yeah,
like,
just got to start.
yeah.
You got to start. You have to have a general idea of where you're going and what you're trying to accomplish, right?
Hmm.
And, once that idea is set, you got to act on it, got to move forward,
Hmm.
immediate action.
Right.
And
Right.
what's so interesting about the Open Mat Physio team is how they're breaking the mold, right? The idea of having a physical therapy type of product in an online environment in a very specific niche like jiu-jitsu versus, hey, traditionally you're going to open a physical therapy clinic and here's all the bureaucracy that you got to go through to be able to build
Hmm.
a clinic, versus, hey, we're trying to deliver a service to a very specific population with these kind of foundational principles of physical therapy, right? And being able to improve the quality of lives of the people that are in this community. I mean, it's a fascinating that that team took the steps and again just continue to evolve, right? Continue to
Hmm.
sharpen the sword. The other thing that was pretty interesting about that one is when we asked her about her day, and she was like, "I don't take calls till 1 o'clock." I love that, dude. I love that. Very, very clear.
Oh
Right? Very,
yeah.
very clear. It's like,
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
here's what I do. Here's what I got to get done. Here's all the things, but I don't start doing this part until, you know, whatever, after 1 o'clock or
Right.
whatever it was. I know it's in the afternoon time, but it's pretty epic.
Right. Yeah. That's so, yeah, for sure. I mean, if you know that's the best way you operate, you know,
Yeah. Double down.
and that's how you can deliver, yeah, double down on it, right? Uh,
Double down,
Heck yeah.
dude. Double down.
Um, Man, I just had this idea that just crossed my mind while having this conversation, just for like my practice and what I want to do. Like, because, you know how you mentioned Diana's creating this online platform.
Yep.
I just made a introduction to a physical therapist that I wanted to network back at work.
Yep.
Um, so I hope them two can collaborate or do something. I just made a formal introduction and just this physical therapy clinic similar to Diana, but they're
Yep.
mostly in person.
Yeah.
Like they're all and they want to transition to the online and they just don't know where to start. So
Yeah.
made that introduction because they I think they have the same philosophy. You know, it's not just going through all these insurances get you through. You know what it's like, right?
Dude. Yeah. Bureaucracy,
So
man.
they wanna build something similar to Diana. So,
Yeah. That's pretty
but
cool.
this idea I was writing down before I forget about it. Um, when I open up my practice is creating some virtual content on some things that I usually tell my clients to at the office. But that's just saying things, right? I'm just like, oh, watch what you're doing at work when have some good ergonomics. So what does that look like? Right? It's like
Yeah.
I'm always telling them these things, but if I can provide some online tutorial, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. No, absolutely. You know what's interesting? What that reminds me of is so, there's a point in my career that I did personal training, right? I mean, you remember. And there's 168 hours in a week.
Hmm.
And you could have a personal trainer twice a week, train with them 2 hours a day, and screw up every other time, right? Um, because you could get after it, right, for an hour, but if the other 23 hours in your day are not built correctly, um, then things are going to fall apart. You're not going to see the results that you need or you want because of everything else that's happening. So yeah, I think
Hmm.
that's interesting when you think of the life journey or the customer journey or client journey of someone that's going through chiropractic. What does that look like, right? Is it like you said, some digital content? Is it some best practices? Is it homework? Is it,
Hmm.
you know, how does that get delivered? Is it an app? Is there an existing app that is there? Is there email automation, right? After a client
Hmm.
goes through a session and the session is logged, they get an automatic email that says, here's some things you need to be thinking about. And 3 days later, there's another email. And then there's automation that comes in for you to give them a call to follow up on it, right? And, what does that look like? That customer journey is, those are things that separate you from other people, right? Because there's tons of chiropractic offices and services that are out there, right? It's just, what are you going to do differently? How are you going to behave differently to get people to, see the value in the product?
Oh yeah. It just first thing that comes to mind how you're like explaining all this. It's like I just need to stay in front of their face 24/7.
Yeah, seriously, right? You're going to watch them.
But like how do I do that, right? It's like, okay, email. Hey,
Yeah.
watch this video of
Yep.
me personally doing this, not someone else, just like me demonstrating things. Another email, right? So,
Yeah. Well, a lot of
is
those
that
things you could build through technology and automation,
right?
but the
Hmm.
content itself should come from you, right? It should be very
Right,
consistent, or the brand voice, right? Of
right.
here's what that experience looks like from the time that they start to
Hmm.
the actual service to after the service, right? What does that
Hmm.
look like between now and the next time, right? If it's hey, they're going to come see you once a week, okay, great. What should they be doing in the next 6 or 7 days, right?
Oh yeah.
If it's a 4 month treatment program, right, and they see you twice a week for 16 weeks, okay, it's 32 sessions, right? Well, what does that look like, right? In between each of the sessions, what does each session look like, right? What does that curriculum look like?
Oh
What are some
yeah.
best practices, right? So I think those are things that are all,
Man, there's so many things going through my mind on what I can do. Damn, man.
yeah.
It's so good. It's so valuable right now that we're
I
talking
think,
about this.
well, as you start building your, your practice, right? I think there's, kind of version 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? If, hey, ultimately, what does that experience look like? And then what is version 1? Right? How do you get a
Hmm.
product off the ground with the first version, right? Because you can get caught up in, I got to build more, I got to build more, I got to build more. But it's like,
Hmm.
what's the fastest path to start creating revenue, provide meaningful value, fastest path to be able to start creating revenue. And then as you provide more and more value, you can charge more and more revenue, right?
Right.
Because when you
Hmm.
think of, again, I don't know all the full economics of your of a chiropractic office, right? But I would imagine it's pretty similar to a fitness, space, right? Where the expense items on your P&L, right? You're going to have rent, you'll have labor, you'll have some basic utilities, you'll have some marketing costs that we built in there, and just some general expenses, right? That will be built into the overall unit, right? So if you say, hey, my chiropractic office is going to be 1,500 square feet, here's what the expenses are going to be: my rent, insurance, all these things. Now, in order for this to turn into a business for you, okay, hey, well, I got to start getting clients that are paying for services to offset all these expenses, right? So there's kind of two worlds that you live in, right? One is client acquisition. So what is the path to get more clients? And then the other part of it is client retention, right? How do I keep this client extended over time where they see the value and they see enough value that they're going to refer their friends and family to your services, right?
Mhm.
And meanwhile, you got to be able to, I got to find a path to start driving people into the facility and start generating revenue now, because it becomes now a game of just driving that top line revenue. The way you do that is just through sales and marketing, right? So as you go through that process, I think it's important that, okay, hey, what's the simplest product that you could release to get the product started, knowing that you're going to evolve it, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And okay, hey, is it here's a service and it's this amount while we build all these other kind of bolt-on things,
Mhm.
and those other bolt-on things you could charge more as the new products and things come out, right? So I mean, I just went through the
Yeah.
process
Yeah.
um,
Right.
with buying a car, and when you buy a car, hey, there's the base model, there's the various trims that you can get along with
Mhm.
it, and then after the fact, they hit you with all the different warranties and all the different things that come along, with that as well, right? Um, it's kind of similar situation, right? It's like, okay, what's the base model for your chiropractic service,
Right.
and then what
Right.
are you know, the other additional things that come along with that?
Oh yeah. Man, so let me ask you, if you have you ever seen someone like try to open up a business like boom, top. This is this is the ceiling of what I can think of what this business can be. And this is probably a bad example, but I just want to know like the flip side of this is like someone starting off like, "Oh, dude, this is it. This is pretty much the highest level that people can get out of this." And that have you ever seen anyone open up a business like that?
Like, what
Or
do you
like
mean? Give me an example.
let me give you an example. Let's say like everything that I can think of as far as the chiropractic office, this is the top tier stuff that I can think of. There's
Hmm.
nothing better. I mean, obviously there's always things that are better, but just saying like, and I don't have these levels, this first level, this first tier, second tier, third tier, but this is the best I can think of. And this is pretty high level. Like, have you ever seen people make mistakes in starting out like that?
Um, I mean, I think you can start out too big if that's what you're asking.
Right.
I
Yeah,
mean,
that's pretty much what I'm asking.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, you definitely could, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, those are some of the biggest mistakes, right, that people could make, right? Is you try to go too big too fast, and
Mhm.
the only way that if people are going to pay for your product is when you put it out there, and what are people actually paying, right? So like, I'll give you an example. If you say, hey, I'm going to build out this awesome premium product, I'm going to be charging premium prices, I'm going to have this premium facility, I'm going to give every possible amenity, I'm going to do everything to the best of the ability
Mhm.
and the highest possible quality. Yeah, I mean, you want to deliver a high quality product for sure, but if you're
Right.
so busy building out this top-notch facility and this high-priced product and all these things, you almost put yourself in a situation where, oh, okay, so I'm only tailoring towards this high-end consumer. And is
Mhm.
there enough high-end consumers to get to this to become a fully functioning, very viable business? Um, like I use this example around like, you know what the Ritz Carlton is?
I've heard of it.
Yeah,
High end,
yeah, uh,
expensive.
yeah, right. And there's the Ritz Carlton, and there's the Four Seasons, and there's a place for those types of hotel amenities,
Mhm.
but not everybody could stay at them, right? And it's a scenario of, if you believe that, okay, hey, well, I want to be the Ritz Carlton of the chiropractic industry. Okay, that's great. It sounds awesome in theory, but what if there's just not a market for that right now? But there's a
Mhm.
market for Holiday Inns. I'm not saying you got to be Motel 6, but there's a series there's a market for Holiday Inn and Marriott, right? And you don't necessarily need to compromise on having you don't necessarily need to roll out a poor product, right? I never would want that. It's just, hey, what is the best possible product that is an entry level product that people could participate in, and then we could upgrade from there, right? Because
Right.
ultimately, what you need volume,
Mm-hmm.
right? Especially because you're new and you're building your brand. Hey, if the end goal is for you to be able to break off these chiropractic offices and they are the Ritz Carlton or the Mercedes and Bentley of chiropractic, that's awesome. But you got to start with something that okay, hey, how can I keep my expenses, moderately low and manageable, and create a product that is a good quality product that I know people will purchase, and then build on that, right? Because that's how it starts turning into a business, right? Because you don't want to overcommit of like, man, I spent all this time building the Ritz Carlton, I spent all this money building the Ritz Carlton, and I put it in a place, and nobody could either afford to go to the Ritz Carlton or even really want to go to the Ritz Carlton. I just need a place to stay. I want a decent place to stay where I feel safe, so I'll stay at a Hilton or a Marriott. I don't necessarily need to stay at a Ritz Carlton, right? So
Right.
those are things where it gets a bit tricky, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody would want to be able to label their business as the, again, Ritz Carlton, Four Seasons of the world, but those things take time, right? And
Yeah.
if you had a big infrastructure in place and you already had proven out the model, okay, great. Now we create the premium model, right? So think of like um, Honda and Acura and Toyota and Lexus and Nissan and is it Nissan and Infinity, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Nissan and Infinity, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's the entry level, right? I mean, even you look at Toyota, right? There's the entry level, base level, whatever the lowest model is, right? A Corolla, and then there's a
Corolla.
real premium, Forerunner, right?
Right.
Or Land Cruiser, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when you want to go to another level, okay, great, you go into Lexus, and even the Lexus has they have an ES and they have an LS, right?
Right.
And that's kind of the same scenario, right? But like you got to be committed to like, okay, what is the Toyota Corolla, the nicest Toyota Corolla version that I know people could afford and people need and want, and then I could build the product off of that. Does that kind of
Yeah.
answer your question?
Yes. 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 It does because, I think there's like, um, what do you call it? Like, um, lessons out there about like who you should be servicing when you own your own business, right? We
Hmm.
talked about this, or we have some of these conversations a couple times about like creating this ideal client and red velvet rope policy type thing. Like, oh, people that you want to see should only be the ones you should be seeing through your doors. So you got to create this this wall of, okay, how do you filter that? But I think you have to find a balance between that.
Yes.
It's not just, okay, I just want to see, like how you mentioned, high quality people who make $500,000 a year. It's not sustainable,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
There's not,
and
there's not many people out there that are like that,
right,
right?
and
Yeah.
um,
And again, I believe there's room for that, and the air quotes theory around that makes a lot of sense. However,
mhm,
right? However, there's the reality, right? So if you think
yeah,
of the best athlete, right, in the world of jiu-jitsu, there's the Gordon Ryans, the Craig Joneses of the world in modern jiu-jitsu, and then even historical jiu-jitsu, right? There's called the Marcelo Garcias, Harja Gracie, Hickson, right? All of these high tier, top premium, high performing, high profile athletes of the world. And there's everybody else,
Yeah.
right? And it's like, okay, hey, are you really trying to build a business that only caters to the Gordon Ryans? And the reality is like, okay, hey, if Gordon Ryan was in your room, would you have the ability to coach him?
That's a
Right?
good question.
And we
But
won't
yeah,
even talk about jujitsu. Let's talk
right.
about another sport, right? Okay, hey, whatever. Serena Williams, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, um, Tom Brady, right? All of these, in theory, yeah, I'd love to say, yeah, hey, I coach the best athletes, but like, do you really have what it takes to coach Tom Brady? Right?
Yeah.
And that's where it gets, you want to be very, there's the theory of I only want to coach the best athletes. And then the reality of, okay, hey, well, let's think about the actual business world. And if I'm trying to open a business here in Corona and I'm trying to train athletes, hey, let's start training some people that play sports, and then we'll worry about getting the D1 athletes, through time. Now, I want to have a high standard in my coaching. I want to have a very clear intention, and my plan is to be able to help people get to that. But to be able to say, I'm only going to be servicing, 4 and 5 star recruits out of my facility. Okay, that sounds real cool, but there isn't a lot, and those people probably already have a coach.
Yeah.
Right. So, you got to be mindful of the strategy. And again, I think everybody's strategy is different. It's just, I would advise against the hey, I only want these types of clients in the early infancy of you opening the business, right? Because right now it's
Hmm.
just, hey, you don't know who's going to go. I do know that I could offer a great valuable service, and I do know that I could offer a great valuable service that is very meaningful, but I don't want to put myself into this like pigeonhole of I only want to service this high profile exclusive client and limit the amount of clients I want to come in. Yeah, maybe once you've built your systems and you've built your reputation, okay, great. Maybe you evolve from Toyota and you create a Lexus brand that does that. Fantastic, right? But you got to be able to start, right? And I think the starting point is start small, be very
Yeah.
realistic, kind of work your way through that, and just hey, what's the lowest entry level point that you could build on and start adding on.
Man, it's, that's some valuable stuff right there. I like it. That's going, transitioning to what I'm working with Ed right now. Um, so for those that don't know, Ed's our producer. He has a
Shout out
branding
to Ed.
company. He's the man. He is the man that's behind all the audio
Yes,
production for the podcast. Thank you, Ed, for all the work that you're doing. But also appreciate you working with me on this branding with my practice. And man, we're digging on some deep levels into my mind about getting into this business that I would never thought I would be thinking about.
yeah, it's a
And he's
pretty
so
cool
good at
exercise, right?
it. Oh yeah, he's so good at it. Um, you know, uh, just to give you an outline, like, we're focusing on beliefs, values, purpose, and your promise, right? And man, it's taken some time, definitely, because I don't want to just. He's asking me these questions, and I don't want to just reply, all right, and give him the answer right away. Like, I really want to sit down and think about this stuff. And I think there could be a mistake if you do just immediately reply. You need to or immediately answer these questions because, man, um, definitely had some reflection on my life and
Mm-hmm.
what I do at work for sure. Like, am I doing this because someone else told me to, or am I doing this because this is what I truly believe in? It's always, man, it's so crazy going through this branding statement.
Yeah, yeah, it's a process for sure, and I agree. I think you got to take it as serious as possible.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, I would be as thorough as you can, and anytime there's any degree of hesitancy, I mean, when we did that for Bizjitsu, I mean,
Hmm.
it was down to like words, like one word of like, man, I think this one word is missing, or man, I don't like this word, right?
Hmm.
Um, because yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, that's the North Star, right? Of
Right.
how you'll make decisions and how the product that you're going to deliver, right? So,
Hmm.
um, yeah, I think there's a lot of value in that exercise for sure.
Oh yeah, and like, I've been asking like, oh, why this? Why is the transition of this statement in this order, right? Like, I feel like there's so much detail in writing this, um, because when we're writing these statements, they are lengthy, little sentences. Um, So I just was asking him a lot of questions on why is the transition to this. I feel like this should come first or this should be coming second type thing. Um and he gives some really thorough feedback. So shout out to Ed. I really appreciate this exercise that we're doing and starting the process of creating this business. This is awesome.
Mallard Creative. Ed with Mallard Creative. Yeah, for sure, man. I think it's a critical piece, right? It's a
Hmm.
building block of what you gotta,
Hmm.
what you're building. So,
Have you ever done that before? Like with
I
other
did a version
businesses?
of that, um,
Mhm.
but the one that I did with Ed was extremely thorough.
Mhm.
Yeah, and again, I think it could be overlooked, right? I think you could
Yeah.
underestimate the value of going through an exercise like that, and yeah, I think it's a very important piece of understanding. Hey, what is this brand that you're trying to build, and
Mhm.
what is the framework that you're gonna um, be working around, right? Kind of like what we talked about earlier. Of it gives you an understanding of what to say no to,
Oh yeah.
right? Right,
Hell
because
yeah.
it's like, hey, this is what I'm chasing. This is what I'm, the work that I want to appear in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years from now. This is what I want it to do, and this is the
Mhm.
direction that we're going. So anything outside of that um, is a distraction, right? So getting some clarity on the front end to be able to know, hey, ultimately, what is this product and experience? What am I wanting to deliver? Um, that's a
Mhm.
critical piece for sure.
Love this. Heck yeah. Just came things are just I'm just writing a bunch of things down today
All
more
good,
for this recording more than
all good.
anything. It's just like, man, I don't know why I'm having so many of these random ideas of my practice. But anyways,
Thoughts are things. Thoughts are things.
yeah.
Speaking of,
Oh, dude.
so hold on.
Who said that? Someone else mentioned that thoughts are things. It was Matt from Epic Roll, right?
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
oh yeah. I mean that's the start of chapter one in Think and Grow Rich. The man who thought his way into a partnership with Thomas Edison. Truly, thoughts are things,
Hmm.
and powerful things at that. When they are mixed with definiteness of purpose, persistence, and a burning desire for the translation into riches and other material objects. Thoughts are things. Yeah,
Hell
man.
yeah.
This this book, man. What's crazy is about Think and Grow Rich. I've initially heard about that book. I was probably 20, 21 years old. So I mean, this was years ago, and read it and didn't fully understand it the first time I read it. And there were some things that hit home, but it didn't fully register. But just over time, it's always been a book that I've always referenced and always have gone back to. And as we've started this project, and more people um, are talking about it, and just the more and more relevant it is, especially just as we're in this kind of building mode, man, I'm like, I gotta go back and reread and reread and reread because there's so many
Hmm.
applicable principles inside of that.
Um. So I didn't really get to ask you like what are like I know you mentioned briefly about how you're thinking about business and family since starting this podcast. What are your biggest takeaways? in
From what?
2023 ever since starting this podcast?
2023, starting this podcast. I think there's a couple things. One, you got to start, right? If you have an
Yeah.
idea that you have in your mind, it's there for a reason, and you just got to start and build. And
Mm-hmm.
things will work itself out, but you just got to go. There's no need to hold on to an idea and wonder if it's going to happen. It's if you have an idea, take it, run with it, and just start building.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we kind of touched on it, right? The value of consistency. I think
Yeah.
consistency. There's, you know, I have made some conscious decisions as I've gotten older about the way that I'm going to put away money and the way I'm going to approach my health and fitness and the way that I'm going to approach my work and business. Um, and consistency is so valuable.
Right.
And when it comes as it relates to this podcast, um, identifying routines for me myself
Mm-hmm.
um, has been super helpful because it's allowed me to be very consistent, right? To be able to know, like, okay, hey, on this day, we're posting this type of content. On this day, we're posting this kind of content. And on these days are the days that we record. On these days are the days that, Ed is going to do his post production. And, um, being able to put that as part of my routine, life becomes a lot easier because now it's just part of my day to day, week to week. And those are things that I'm seeing the return on that. And it's just a short period of time that we've been doing it, right? 5 months. Um, Again, the value of that is super super fun, right? Going through the learning process, but also super valuable, right? I can see how this thing's coming to life more and more.
Mm-hmm.
I think the other thing that I would say I'm learning is being committed to reflecting. And,
Mm-hmm.
I've always reflected on things, but because, hey, we're putting out content every day and each week, um, and being able to just play back the tapes and actually listen to some of the conversations and, look at some of the content that we've been creating, being able to reflect and be able to say, man, hey, what was I trying to accomplish? Did I land my plane on this? Could I have done that differently? Could I have approached it differently? Should I have asked different questions? Could I have prepared better? Um, just being able to have that very clear growth mindset of, okay, hey, we're going to keep building this thing and it's going to be up to me to not just go into this robot mode, right? Although it's a routine, I don't want to go into robot mode where I'm just doing the same exact thing over and over again, right? And I use this analogy before of, I don't want to look up, 10 years from now and say, man, I repeated year one of the Biz Jitsu podcast 9 additional years for a total of 10 years, right? It's like, no, I want to continue to make it better and better over time, but that requires reflection and honesty, transparency, right? To be able to say, man, that was not
Mm-hmm.
good, or man, that was okay, or man, I can't let that happen again. That's been a big learning experience. I think that's always been kind of part of who I am, but more,
Mm-hmm.
I think because I'm putting myself out there, I shouldn't say I am, we are putting ourselves out there. I want to be very mindful of some of the decisions and things that we're making. So that's been a big piece. Um, the other thing that I'm taking away and learning is it's fun to talk to people, and it's fun to learn people's origin stories and hear about some of the adversity and start to put together some of these very consistent parallels, right? Between like, oh
Mm-hmm.
man, that's very interesting. You listen to our most recent one, Mike Velez, of, he already had some carryover skill and built his kind of magazine building muscle. And then the opportunity came for him to build a jiu-jitsu magazine. And like he said, hey, I started and I was a little bit ahead of the curve. He was already like what he considered himself a brown belt in the magazine business. So it
Mm-hmm.
allowed him to be able to get off to a faster start. I mean, that's just a very fascinating thing. And, whether it's, someone like Matt at Epic Roll, right, where he went into the realty business, into the clothing business, and then now he's catapulting that information into um, his one bottle company. Or you think about Dan LaSavage, how he went from a retailer to a manufacturer to now dozens of brands underneath that whole Combat Corner umbrella, right?
Hmm.
So, yeah, I think there's just a ton of value in being able to go through this exercise, learn from people, and man, we could take some of these life lessons and apply them to our own current situations. I mean, you look at Damien Tannenbaugh, right? Hey, he was a corporate executive. He went travel the world, started to apply some of those things to his own personal business, right? Um, at their tech company, and then some of these things that he's chasing, his passion for acting, his passion for owning commercial real estate, and putting all those things together, jujitsu, strength conditioning, all those things. Those are all pieces, right? And those are very similar clues that you can see with some of these people that we're interviewing, right? It's like, man, there's things that just take time, and you see the kind of common parallel between all that. So, yeah,
Hmm.
you know the biggest takeaway I would say, or one of the bigger takeaways, is like, man, it's super fun to be able to learn and observe and take some of these lessons and apply it to what we're
Oh
doing.
yeah. Heck yeah. And I always thought like when people own businesses, like dang, they seem to have it easy.
Mm-mm.
Before all of this, man, I was like, they seem to have like an easy life. Like, oh man, I seen their socials, going on vacation, stuff like that. But it's not like that, man. And there's a lot of work behind it. And the more guests we speak to, I love to hear their consistency, right? Their hard work, and I feel like I do that my own as an employee, right? I like try to do the best as I can, and why can't I do that for my own business?
Yeah, you should.
That's what I exactly and that's what I'm taking away with each guest, and the more guests we speak to, it's like, man, I can I love to work. I'm a hard worker. Yeah, I can do that. Like, you're just trying to I try to put myself in their shoes. Like, okay, I've never been in that position, but how about I just do that? Why don't I put myself in their shoes, right? Like,
Yeah,
I'm doing that a lot lately. So yeah, man, I'm
yeah,
looking forward to everything coming up.
yeah. 2024, we got a lot of good things. I mean, I want to just kind of say this one other last thing. You know what's other to me that's so fascinating is um, Noah from Six Blades,
Mm-hmm.
and there's it's got to be very liberating, right? To be able to, I have a boss, I'm trying to add value. The boss is over managing, getting on my nerves. I'm done. I'm out. I'm going to go create my own thing. And for him to just say, hey, I want to paint, so I'm going to paint. I want to make jujitsu, you know, drawings and sell them. Great. I'm going to go and do, contract work like he did for us. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go teach jujitsu. I'm going to go take jujitsu and just be able
Yeah.
to have full control over everything you want to do. And everything that he's doing is, hey, I'm passionate about drawing, I'm passionate about jujitsu, and I'm just going to make a life around that. And, there's so much value in just living the life that you want to live. And it takes sacrifice, right? There's a lot of concern, a lot of fear, right, that comes along with that.
Mm-hmm.
Fear of what people are going to
Oh.
say, fear of like, hey, what if this thing doesn't work out? But it's like, well,
Mm-hmm.
what if it does?
Yeah.
Right? What if it does?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm gonna go
Right.
through. I'm gonna go through work. I'm gonna go through challenges. I'm gonna deal with stuff I don't want to deal with, whether I'm working for somebody else or I'm working for myself. I might as well, roll the dice on myself.
Yeah, heck yeah.
I
And
love that.
I hope that the people that we're interviewing and the content we're putting out there, that people who have this mindset or thinking about opening a business, this helps them,
Yeah,
push forward for this, push forward and accomplishing what they want to get done, right? Not be so scared of what to expect, and I hope we can deliver that to them.
Yeah, agreed, man. Agreed, right? I think there's so much additional value that I wasn't accounting for.
Hmm.
And that's part of it, right? Is yeah, we want to speak to business owners that happen to do jujitsu and create an environment
Hmm.
where they can network with one another. But there's the other underlying piece of, hey, there's probably people that are just like you and I, right? That are, hey, we have business ideas that we would want to get off the ground, and I want a resource of where I could learn some stuff from, right?
Yeah.
And hey, there's a lot of great minds out there, and we just got to be able to keep putting out good content and do the best we can to find these people and build relationships and confidence that these people would allow us to, spend time with them to share their story with, with the rest of the, world out there that are just like them, right? That at one
Yeah.
point in their time wanted to launch a business like they did and are
Hmm.
looking for a path or some encouragement to be able to do that.
Yeah. Heck yeah. That's good
Cool,
stuff.
man.
Shout out to
Well, we
Noah.
got
This is
speaking of Vendetta, I like that shirt. Pretty sick.
so dope.
For sure. For sure. For sure. So a couple things. Man, we're an hour and 20. That's crazy how fast this thing goes. So a couple things. 2024, man, we got a lot going on. Got the launch of the website. We got a lot of moving parts there. We got the team from Ninja Pipeline. They're building the website. We got um, Andrea building some copy. We got Mike creating some visuals. Um, that's in motion. That's exciting. We got the team from Marked, right? We are working through some of the updated marketing, right? As a matter of fact, I didn't get a chance to. I had been texting with them offline, not on that email chain about
Hmm.
making some edits to, the event launch. Also, too, I didn't mention. I got a call scheduled with Ron from East LA Jiu Jitsu.
Okay.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Cool.
Yeah, I got a got a
Nice.
call scheduled with him. So yeah, excited to see kind of some of that stuff come to life. I still think that is going to be an important piece of the puzzle. Look forward to evolving some of the content and pointing some of the content here locally. Right, I've been putting together the hit list of Southern California jiu-jitsu business owners or business owners that do jiu-jitsu in Southern California. Look forward to tackling that. Um, yeah, it's a lot, man. We got some new art, right? The
Oh yeah.
citrus goldfish and Mike. Oh, dude, this is gonna be so epic. We got
Those
some new
is are
art.
awesome, man.
To,
When are
to
you? Where are you gonna put that out? When do we
I'm,
plan on putting?
I'm waiting for Mike because Mike had said, "Hey, let's wait for all the new projects to wait till the new year." So
Okay, gotcha.
that's going to be the top of the top of the list for him to create something fun with that. That'll be fun.
Cool.
Um, yeah, man, lot of good things. I'm excited. I have this kind of personal goal of I'm going to double down on my own education around storytelling and digital and visual storytelling, right? I think one of my personal goals as I reflected back, right, I'm kind of at this stage in my life where I have to do a better job documenting things.
Hmm.
And what I mean by documenting things is just my own personal story and sharing, what I feel is important, not just with the world, but I mean, I've been thinking through, man, there's parts of my story that my own kids don't even know,
Hmm.
right? And my mom, she's getting elderly, and like she has a bunch of stories that I've never heard or I'd love to hear, and I'd love to get that on record and keep that as part of our family's legacy, right? Of just hearing my mom tell stories of my grandfather and hearing stories of my mom, coming here to the U.S. right as an
Hmm.
immigrant, and what all that was like, right? Um, so yeah, my part of my own goals is to get this storytelling thing down and documenting things down, and hopefully that could carry over to some additional skills that we could use for all this. But yeah, man, got a lot going on in 2024. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think that's important to, you know, capture this. It's almost like a diary, right? What you're
It really
creating,
is.
right? Yeah. And I think a lot of people hesitate to do it because like they don't want to it takes time. Like you want to be present in the moment of doing all these things, but it's also important to capture it, like you said. um that's what I've had trouble, like that. Those are some of the struggles I have when I'm like recording things with my family.
Hmm.
Or there are times where like, why the hell are we taking pictures? Like, this this is, why don't we just live in the moment? But
Yeah,
there's there's definitely a lot of those. And there's even video recording, like even my own
yeah.
child's like babies, and just like, ah, man, why do we have to do this? But it's like, gotta reflect. There's always time to reflect on that. And yeah.
Dude, I'll tell you, all of those feelings and concerns. I mean, I agree. You have to be present. There's a balance there. But I mean, I
Hmm.
look back on, my kids are older now, and I did not do a good job recording.
Mm.
Right. We have pictures and we have some kind of memories, but it would be super fun to be able to go back and watch videos and, you
Hmm.
know, go through and relive some of those moments, not just in my
Yeah.
mind, but actually go back and press play, and, some of those fun moments and some of those challenging and hard moments.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think it's critical. I've done a poor job at it, and I gotta build that muscle. I gotta build that skill. And
Yeah.
yeah, so it'll be exciting to be able to see how some of that stuff carries over into how we document, kind of our next steps with, BizJitsu and the in-person events and all those things. So yeah, I'm pretty bullish on that, right? And plus also I just like learning new stuff, and
Yeah. Yeah.
so that
That's
in
what I was gonna
itself will
get
be
to.
fun.
Oh yeah, it'll be fun for sure. And yeah, it's gonna be a learning experience, all around for you. So it should be fun.
Dude, I can't even figure out how to work these lights correctly. Yeah, it's all good.
um, Myself for 2024, I- obviously is opening up the practice, but also to kind of complement that is creating um another small business or another passion project. And I just thought of this um, while recording this episode and creating this, is actually going through the steps and utilizing everything around BizJitsu in creating this small passion project. So I shared this with you, like, hey, I want to network and help small business owners doing some short form interview content. It's almost like this, right? But it's just a little bit lesser scale of it. And my plan is to get that running next, hopefully the first quarter of next year, and utilize services that, or people that we've networked in creating this. Um, I'm having fun with it. I had some pretty cool uh, interviews with some of the small business owners around the Redlands, downtown Redlands area. So it was some good networking and good connections there. So I'm looking forward to that for next year.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, anything that comes up, right? Whether it's, you know, air quotes, a passion project, or, um, whatever type of project, like, do it, try it,
Hmm.
see what happens, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, you don't want to be doing, you know, a bunch of things that don't tie together. But if it's like, man, I can see how all these things tie together, freaking do it, man.
Oh
Run with it.
yeah.
Run
Yeah.
with it, right? It's all part of it. I mean, we'll look up, a year from now, 5 years from now, and say, man, I'm glad I took those steps because all this stuff kind of goes together. I chatted with you offline. I'm not going to speak about it publicly, but evolving my recruiting company and making some efforts there. I'm excited about that part as well. And yeah, it's just like anything else, right? Thoughts are things. So
Yeah.
it's important to important to pursue. Once you have an idea, to be able to say, okay, hey, what is this? What is the goal and intention of this project, and where do I start? And again, it doesn't have to be this big production company. You could start on the cell phone and build
Yeah.
literally day by day. As a matter of fact, you know what? That reminds me. This has nothing to do with the podcast, but it has to do with that. Remind me to talk to you about EOS Redlands and Cyclebar Redlands.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah,
Will do.
should get Dr. Rob one Jiu-Jitsu Redlands.
Oh yeah, for sure. I know you're right. uh, you're right. I'm writing those down right now.
Yeah,
I
for
still
sure.
gotta go to his class. Like he's he's DMing me on Instagram. Like come through our place because I'll be like giving him a little fire emoji for his Friday morning classes. Like, get your ass over here.
Well, aren't you there on Fridays? Don't you go
Yeah,
there earlier?
I am,
Dude.
but I just go to TK's. I guess I'm just too comfortable going to TK's right now.
Yeah.
Rob, I'm gonna make it, man.
It's so funny. He ends up uh, on each part of our episode of us saying that.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
we just need to go down there.
Oh
It's
man.
awesome. Cool, man. What else? We're 131 in. Anything else? Anything pressing?
Man, I'm just looking forward to the new year, man. That's a lot of things happening. A lot of things are in the works right now, so I'm excited. We're just continuing to build, man.
Yeah, agreed, man. Day by day, we got a lot done in a little bit of time. I'm excited to see where this thing goes.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, let's call this a wrap. We good?
Yep.
All right, everyone. For those of you that are listening, this is the Biz Jitsu podcast. We thank you all for listening. Congratulations to everyone as we continue to build and continue to support these businesses. Right, I look forward to all the growth and success that we've had with the guests that have participated. Look forward to continue to bring some great content in 2024. If you're interested in being a guest on the podcast, feel free to reach out to us. You could send us a message at info@bizjitsu.com or reach out and send a DM to Archie or I. We got a big plan in place for a local event in April of 2024 and excited to get that thing off the ground. Keep an eye out for the website, bizjitsu.com, and a networking environment that we'll be able to work with each other online as well. But other than that, we'll see you on the next episode in 2024. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Bye.